Hey, welcome back again. And just like last time, we're going to continue building on our Wazuh deployment, improving the maturity. Quickly, what we'll be doing today, we'll be doing everything that we need to do at this application level. From a config perspective, we'll be making those changes today, and we'll be deploying those changes. Then the last recording, which probably will be tomorrow, we will be setting up the cloud environment space. That's by getting the Kinesis integration done, the S3 bucket integration, then also adding an agent. We use an EC2 instance within the same account, deployed within the same VPCs to just add an agent and see how that works from a testing perspective. So today we might extend the recording a bit because I expect that there might be we might run into some problems again because we're making a lot of changes in our Kubernetes deployment files, and we just want to be sure we can keep track with those changes. And so once we run into problems, we can actually systematically or methodically get those problems remediated or fixed. And I hope you learned something whilst I'll be doing those fixes. Okay, so first thing first, if you remember the last time we had set up the backup. So if we go into the Wazuh manager folder, right in here, we started making those changes here. Apart from the fact that we brought in the AWS creds, which we've seen, we also I'll just drop down the index, pull up the indexer within the Wazuh manager. We had created the folder for the AWS credentials, which will be credentials that Wazuh would use to pretty much connect to the cloud environment and access resources within the cloud account. Sorry. Then we also had set up the backup. So we did the backup for the daily, the backup for the monthly. Then also I did mention that I will bring in a recovery script. So this is a recovery Python script as well. At the moment, it's also been set up to run. So just in case we have a crash or something fails, we want to be able to restore everything back to what it looks like. I'm not going to walk through the entire Python script, but I will be sharing this, as I mentioned, on the GitHub repository where this will be hosted, or my GitLab environment as well. So we have the backup, all three of them done. Backup and restore. I should probably rename that folder to backup and restore. Then I've also brought in the integrations. So I think we saw the backup. I'm going to pick up from the other integrations. So under integrations, you would see there is custom Slack, custom of Genie. There is also under incident reporting. We have account, which would be the accounts we're monitoring in cloud environment, like I mentioned. In our case, I've set up two accounts. So I'll deploy two agents in these two different accounts. So I need to, beyond just the agents, since they're on cloud, not on prem, I want to keep track on every activity happening within this cloud environment. So you see, I'm actually collecting CloudFlare, which pretty much actually serves as a CDN in this context, help us manage traffic going to the web application deployed on the EC2 instance. Pretty much bad if you don't have that on the EC2 instance anyways, but just for recording purpose. Then we have CloudTrail. Then I probably might not touch on every bit of details in this because I'm also trying to buy time to actually do this recording. So in case I skip some things, please do not mind, leave a comment on what else you'd want to see as an improvement. And don't forget, Wazuh's Slack channel is actually doing awesome. I can pretty much share something here. You see, I've got my bad. Okay, if I go in the my bad. Oh, my bad. Okay, if I go into Wazuh, you would see that every pretty much every week, sometimes every month, there are announcements of improvement. Again, this is actually building the maturity and capability of this thing, and it's grown so fast from the last time I actually saw it. So there's a whole lot of catch up going on there. But I would advise, if you want to keep track, just join this, get yourself hooked up in Slack. You actually get updates from an upgrade perspective, the latest version, and also from integration perspective, the latest changes that they're having actually as they mature the SIM. Okay, enough with that chat. Now back to business. So under integrations, we have accounts. I'm not going to be showing you my accounts. We have the Cloudflare integration is also Python scripts. I'm not going to go into details because you would see that there's also Jira happening there, automated ticket creation, and other stuff happening there. I'm not going to go into details showing you those stuff. But also we have build use cases from a close code, root cause, step taking, outage, recurrent incidents, false positive, stuff like that. All those are covered within the Cloudflare integration. Then also we have for the CloudTrail as well. I'm not going to go into detail showing you every bit that's happening in there, but again, within the CloudTrail, there's a whole lot also going on there. Then also for GuardDuty as well as Jira integration. So the goal will be within the cloud environment, these cloud agents will be looking out for event activities. Example, GuardDuty, we're monitoring the instances, monitoring from malware perspective, and also other forms of intrusion. Then also CloudTrail, we're looking at the IAM usage and also other kinds of usage, collecting those logs and actually bringing everything into our CM for us, so we can actually have visibility, full-fledged visibility into the cloud environment. Then automated ticket creating, should there be a match to a specific use case defined within the Jira integration, we want to trigger that integration to actually create a ticket within Jira for us, and that has to be done automated as well. Then also we're looking at security scorecard to actually monitor our cloud environment in terms of what we have deployed, how we can baseline ourselves against certain standards, as well as other industries within our space of business as well. Then I've got custom of Genie. Of Genie will be for an on-call. Let's take, for instance, we build in a CM, so we want to have that full integration end to end. For instance, an incident is triggered. This is something that requires maybe an on-call agent to actually get on. It's going to trigger that call the agent. They need to get in and look at that incident and start the triaging process. Then we also got the Slack notification, which definitely would trigger that integration and send the notification for the alerts to the Slack channel, which has been hooked up to. Okay. Then aside that, we also got a bunch of other forms of integration looking at, let's say no alerts is triggered. We want to be able to check and see, okay, why didn't we have any alerts so far? Also, we have that no alert check for Cloudflare. We have for GuardDuty, we have for CloudTrail, as well as we have for Ops Genie. Sorry, we also have for Ops Genie. Now we are looking at end to end. Alert triggers, response. Alert doesn't trigger, also let us know what's happening. Have we seen something? Have we not seen nothing? That's the whole idea. We're trying to mature the SIEM. I'm going to drop this folder. Then you can also see that outside integration, I've got rules. Now this is for O350. Again, this is still being built, but within the Wazuh config, you will see I've added a local rule. So this local rules is extensive. Now this is going to be the rules that Wazuh will be using to actually match the incidents that are getting in to trigger the alerts. You know the way it works, classic CM. So you must have the alert, you must have the logs of the events being exported to that point where you can now have the CM using it rule to actually match the events to trigger incidents. So in my case, there are these use cases defined within the rule that will be going through the events to actually trigger incidents that we want to see, like an alert or something. So there are a bunch of them. I'm not going to go through every one of them. Then I've also made the changes now, the changes for whatever we've done to be reflected. The first step is we get those files created in their respective directories within the manager. Again, all this must be within the Wazuh manager subdirectory within the Wazuh deployment directory. If it's not there, you're actually missing it. You're getting it wrong. So it's within the, I cloned this straight from Wazuh website. Then you can see within that directory, we have two major directories, which is the events. And for this environment, sorry, in our case, since it's EKS, we just have that fixed. Then also within the Wazuh itself, you would see that under Wazuh, we're now making all these changes within the Wazuh manager. That's where we're making these changes. Very important. Okay. In the previous, I've also shown you that we could also set within our customization, and for this first customization, but pretty much just to be sure we have all that we have from an integration standpoint defined within here. But we're not going to go into this because we don't really need to make any changes here, as well as we don't really need to make any changes here as well. So we'll drop this down, going back to our Wazuh folder, which is the subdirectory. And then in that subdirectory, we also have the secrets. We've shown you this, how we've created the AWS cred, but today we are within the Wazuh manager subdirectory under the Wazuh Kubernetes deployment complete file. Okay, so if you drop that down, you would see we created the AWS keys and the environment for the last recording. We also did the backup. Now I've shown you the integrations that we have already, then also the rules, as well as within the Wazuh conf, local. So again, it has to be within this. In my case of the local rules, if I put it anywhere else, it's not going to be able to be read by this master and also being used to actually match the events that we have or the logs that we have to actually trigger an incident on alerts. So you must be sure you have that structure done correctly. So within the master conf, now you would see I've reflected all the changes so far that we had planned to do within this master conf. I'm going to be showing that actually. Okay, so looking at the changes that we've made within this file, I know I'm a bit fast, and you bear with me if you've got questions, if you've got areas that you're not certain about, you want clarity, I'll be glad to pretty much help explain how to get these things fixed and how to get it working on your end. Okay, so let's go into the changes that we've made. First, under integrations, you see I've added a block for integrations, and this is for the Opsgenie on call. If you remember, if we go into integrations, you saw Opsgenie on call there. Great, that's the Python for Opsgenie on call. I must have this also configured within the master conf so it knows where that file is, what the file is, and also how to read from that file. So in this context, we've got that done within the master conf of Genie. Also, custom Slack. We've also done custom Slack here. Now, if I don't have this, a piece is missing in the puzzle, so I will run into errors. So I've got this sorted out. If I go a bit down, you've also see I've sorted out for the backup. I showed you this the last recording, the daily and the monthly backup. Then also the alert checks. Remember we talked about alert checks. These 4 alert checks. You can see that I've also configured all of them here, and also I've set the time. Now I talked about the Wazuh the last call. I even showed you the Wazuh within the master. I think we still have that logged in here. I showed you the Wazuh within the master conf space var osec, and we went into integrations. Then you can see a bunch of those integrations here. So we also saw the Wazuh as well. So I'm gonna go back. All right, so you can see for all the on calls, we've got them, sorry, all the alert checks, we've got them sorted out here. They must be defined and sorted correctly the way you have done that within that's first bringing in the file. Okay, so we have all that done here, and it's going to be within this path on the master. So once I deploy this, I don't have it deployed yet in integrations. I would see all these Python scripts as I showed you in this folder. All of them will appear here. Then also for GuardDuty, we've done for GuardDuty, but in this context, I would spend some time explaining what's happening here. So you see, I'm using the Wazuh AWS S3. I showed you the last time. Now, this will be reading every 4 minutes. And what it's doing is it's looking at a bucket called GuardDuty. Again, this is actually the bucket that I have, and the bucket is named GuardDuty Kinesis S3. I will explain what will happen at the back end for you. So within the cloud environment, we're using Kinesis stream. So every bit of event we're having from our GuardDuty, we stream them via Kinesis over to an S3 bucket. So they are written in an S3 bucket, and that's for the firehose, just to mention that. And you can see I've given the bucket name GuardDuty Kinesis S3 because GuardDuty's log has been streamed by the definition which we have in the cloud environment. I'm going to show you later, I guess tomorrow, streamed by GuardDuty, by Kinesis, and written to an S3 bucket, then in a path called firehose. Now I'm doing this for EU Central and EU West 1. So you can actually see here I've defined, oh, this is for EU Central. Again, I have 2 paths. The first path will be for the EU West 1, which is where EU West 2, we currently have deployments. Then the second part will be for the EU Central, which I have the second region actually deployed. So you would see I'm writing those events to an S3 bucket. Then I also have for CloudWatch here, everything else for the service within CloudWatch, I want to collect those. And for CloudWatch, what CloudWatch is actually aggregating for me will be the CloudTrail alerts, the CloudFlare alerts, and the SecurityScore alerts. So CloudWatch log group have been created for these alerts, and that integration is done on the cloud environment to collect these alerts from CloudTrail, from Cloudflare, and also from Security Scorecard over to the CloudWatch log group. So what I'm doing here with this Wazuh is same Wazuh, I'm actually using it to pull or poll CloudWatch to fetch these events and bring them into our Wazuh CM. And this is defined for EU West 1. Very clear that is done correctly. Now there's an alternative I mentioned. I could pretty much not use the S3 bucket option. I could just use CloudWatch. So if I want to use CloudWatch, what I would be doing is I wouldn't have this. I just know that by default, GuardDuty event will be in CloudWatch log group. So I just need to bring in the CloudWatch log group. But there's a limit to the get API for CloudWatch. So it means you might have delay or you might run into delays. And for CM, we want to reduce the time as much as possible so we can actually get this event coming in on time. So if you're using CloudWatch, just know that you might run into that API rate limiting where you are not able to make huge number of calls to actually fetch this event, and hence there will be delays. But rather the option of this stream, the Kinesis firehose just pushes everything over to the S3 bucket, and every 4 minutes once it just fetch those into the same and start the pre-processing for those events. So that is also done correctly. Then everything else is just default what Wazuh gives you. This is collector and also other stuff. I'm not touching any of those rubbish stuff. Okay, now I've shown you the second step. Again, I'm going to run through the first step: get the files created in their correct directory under the Wazuh manager. Step 2, then do the correct mapping within your master.conf file. You must be sure that you've created integrations for all those files you've actually brought in. Then the third step, which is where there's a bit of hassle or handling coming in. I already showed you the Wazuh S3 AWS API. We are going to reflect these changes that we've just seen here in our STS file for the master. So if I click here, you see I've got the Wazuh cluster SVC, but in the master STS, all those changes must be reflected here. So I'm going to spend some time showing you this third step. Then the fourth step would be, I think we'll do the same in the worker. Then the fourth step would be us reflecting the changes in the customization. So I'm going to show that as well. So let's see how much time we've spent so far. 16. Okay, we're still running. All right. So let's get in the master STS and talk about those changes, which I have actually done it in the master conf file. So going up here, I'm not going to touch this. It's just the definition API version. Moving on from there, the first changes you see, incident reporting. Now I have to create volumes for all these files I'm bringing in. Remember, this is actually a clustered environment. So I'm not just going to add a file and I expect that it's going to work. I need to create volumes for all those files, and I need to actually map those volumes using the config map. If I don't do that, shit ain't working. It ain't gonna work. So you would see I'm creating volumes now for integration. I'm actually setting the default mode 077. I'm not going to bug my head trying to explain what that is. I believe I've got something recording with Linux, showing Linux permissions and other stuff. Okay, then I also have created for integrations. Under integrations, you see I'm bringing every integration defined. So reporting, for incident reporting folder, everything within there, a volume will be created for that, and everything we have under this incident reporting will be within that volume. That would include both the CloudFlare, CloudTrail, GuardDuty, Jira, and every other thing within that subfolder. Then also we have under incident reporting, we've got the incident reporting mapped correctly. Then we've got the backup, we've got the AWS. Then we also got 5-bit certs. I'm not going to touch those ones. Then also the Jira as well coming in, done all that mapping under the volume map. Now, once that is done, within the containers, we also have to take care of those changes within this space. So if I go a bit down, you will see where that has been done for, just give me a second. Oh yeah, I think I feel like need water. Great. So under integrations, you see integrations for Ops Genie, integrations for custom Slack, integrations for no alerts. Now the mount path is being set to integration. So once I'm done with all this, if I go into this master and I see the into integrations, I will be seeing all those changes in here once we deploy this, because that's the mount part we're setting. Mount, we create a volume for this, we set the permissions on the volume, then we're mounting these integrations for this Python script. Let's just make it easy, this Python script to that part. So it's all going to be under integrations. Everything will be a change under integrations. You can also see for the CloudTrail, the GuardDuty, the scorecard, and also the incident reporting subfolder, and all the incidents reporting that we have created. Everything is going to be mounted under integrations with their respective folders as we've defined within integrations here. Okay, Then away from that, we've also done for the AWS cred, we must create a mount path for that as well, and a volume for it, as well as the config. Then also the backup, we must have mount path for that as well. Then I think those are the major changes. Now, once you got this sorted out, again, if you have keys, remember under secrets, I did brought in certain secrets. I must be sure that I take care of those as well. There's the Jira key that I'm also defining here. You must be sure that that is also defined under the environment variables. So Wazuh knows where to fetch those variables from once it starts running those scripts, to use those variables to read the cloud in the environment where those resources are, and to fetch those log into Wazuh. So if you don't have those, she ain't gonna work. Just to let you know, she ain't gonna work. Okay, then the volume claim, I'm leaving it as default, which was what defined. Now, once you have these parts sorted out under the master SCS, I think the final stage, the worker, you don't necessarily need to make those changes in here. It doesn't need that. Again, you don't have to do any changes in here. The final stage would be within the customization. Now, all the changes you've made within the master conf file, within the master SCS file, must be reflected as well in the customization. So because again, this is what it's going to use for the deployment. So if we look at this pretty fast, you will see we've defined, I'm just going to go first the local rule. I showed you the local rule. I must make sure I have that defined here. Then I'm removing the indexer for the SSO. Again, I did mention if you want to configure SSO, we can actually do that. So maybe I might choose to do that with you guys later on, but for now, we're taking that off. Then we can also see the integrations had been defined. Now you have to define all this under the config map generator. If you don't, you will still have problems. So you would see that all the integrations defined, incidents reporting defined, the AWS subfolder defined, the Wazuh defined. I also have removed log stash, then the backup defined, the rules as well defined. We must have all those. Then one final thing, if you notice, I have actually also defined the secrets here because these are resources, and Wazuh needs this to be able to actually connect. Like I mentioned, I also have to define those. Then all their respective SBC file are also been defined here, and everything else is default as it is with Wazuh. So again, just to reiterate, I must clearly define all this under the config map generator. Then also under the resource, I must be sure that I have defined those for the secrets as well. Now, once we have all this defined, we have actually solved the entire problems. Again, just for recap, create the files, have the files in the right directories or subdirectories, then reflect those in the master conf. Again, you must be able to create, excuse me, I guess I need water at this point. Okay, you must be able to create the Wazuh to execute those Python scripts. Again, the Wazuh is like when you have like a bash or something, you should be able to execute those Python scripts. Then once that is done within the master SCS file, you must SCS, my bad, you must reflect all those changes and do the correct mapping for the volume. And also remember, we had to do that for under the volumes, create volumes for them. Then also after creating volumes for them from the containers, we also have to define those. Then also finally, we have to now set the environment for the ones that are necessary to have keys to be able to use those keys to read. And once that is done, the final stage is within the customization. You now reflect those changes as I've shown in this file. Okay, now we have all these done, and we need to push this change to our already existing cluster. Don't forget, we still have Wazuh stuff running here. Let's see if I remember the login. Right, I pretty much have to go and copy that again from the file. Okay, so we go into secrets, index a cred, secret password. Interesting. That's a fine one. Okay, so we'll take that, and don't forget you have to change that shape. Okay, so our Wazuh is still running, and you can see I'm still using the load balancer. I didn't change that yet. You can change this again. You saw the SSO section. If you want to do that, you can actually do that. I am not going to do that here because there's a whole lot going on in the background. So this is still running. Now we verified. Okay, we still don't have an agent. I think tomorrow what we're doing is we'll be creating the cloud environment resources, then adding an agent. Okay, so let's push these changes so we see what it looks like. I'm going to exit from this master pod. Then I want to be sure I'm in the right directory. So I'm going to run my normal command control, then I'm going to apply, then I'm doing -k, then I'm applying on my ANVEKS. All the changes are within those files, so I'm actually applying the file. Okay, now great. This is the beauty where we can now start leveraging of this to find out some of the issues we're having in terms of errors, and also increasing the learning curve. I didn't mention that we will run into errors, and we'll get those errors fixed together. So let's start doing that. Now this is 25th minutes. This might extend to 30. I hope you don't feel a pain in the back. Okay, all right, let's get some fixing. Okay, so we have actually been able to fix most of these errors. And as like I did mention, it was actually issues related to typographical errors, or sometimes it just pretty much typed very fast and I missed out a few things. And I did not like run a LinkedIn or to verify if I typed the right thing. So I spent some time reviewing the entire config and made those changes, correct the errors. Like one of them that was picked, you can see here, related to the naming. I had used underscore here. I just picked this one to explain. I'd used something like this instead of this. Um, that actually threw up an error, failed. But I've been able to get all those fixed. And if you see, I'm actually describing the details of the master pod. You would see most of the changes that were actually pushed, created for Jira secrets, created for the AWS cluster secrets, created, also created a bunch of files which were specified in the incident reporting. All of that done, then all those changes were applied and the necessary volumes were created. You can see based on the config map definition, and the files were moved into the necessary volumes. So again, all that ran successfully and the pods are running healthy. So if I run to get the pods, you see all the pods are running. These three were changed recently because all the changes that I've made actually were done in these. I didn't touch the dashboard, not the indexer stack. Okay, so let's try to log into the master pod and see if we go into OSEC. In here again, like I did mention earlier, sorry, you would see all the files that had been brought in. If I go into integrations, you will see now we have all our integrations: custom of Genie, custom Slack, no alert checks, incident reporting. I can go into the folder incident reporting, and as well you would see the accounts. I'm not going to show my accounts: CloudFlare, CloudTrail, GuardDuty, Jira, Security Scorecard, just as we've mapped them in here under the managers integrations. We have all of that done in the pod. Now this is the running pod. It means we already have what we need to do done correctly, and we've mapped all those integrations. Now, in terms of the capability, we've actually included of Genie on call, we've included Slack, we've included no alert checks, which are pretty much script that will be checking why haven't we seen an alert, what's happening there. Then under the incident reporting folder, we've added for integrations for Cloudflare, CloudTrail, GuardDuty, Jira, Scorecard. Now you could extend these capabilities to whatever integrations you're looking at having within the scope of your integration. It's not limited, but I'm just picking this one just to show how easy it is to get this thing done. Okay, now not easy, a bit difficult. I have to correct myself there. Okay, so going back in here, we would see we've got the slack.py. Later on, I might decide to add virus total, but I'm not sure I'll be doing this recording because I very much have to get back to work and it's going to get busy for me lately. Moving on from this point onward. But within, I'm just going to go one step back. Within the virusec folder, you will see we have backups. I can go into backup. My badge, and we will see the daily backup, the monthly backup, as we've also integrated that's done correctly. If I go a step back and I go into rule sets, okay, rules, we've got a bunch of these rules. Remember, I did create the local rules. What we're going to do is before we push to tomorrow's recording. I think I will leave that for tomorrow's recording. It's almost 30 minutes. I don't want to extend beyond the 30 minutes video on a go. So let's go into the logs folder while it's wrapping up the final minutes. In the logs already, we will be able to see logs for integrations. I can tail -F on integrations log. We should be able to see logs once they start coming in. Remember, we need to configure the cloud environment for these integrations. So at the moment, you might not see anything coming in, but I could also do the same for the OSEC log. Or I can go into Wazuh. In Wazuh, I've got the folder 2023, which is where our logs will sit in October. My bad. Okay, in October, then we will see today's log is actually 21st. Oh, no, my bad. 22nd, should be 22nd. Geez, all these are already compressed. Let's go a step back. Let's see what's in here. Oh, okay, no, my bad. Go back. In the logs directory, go into alerts. So in alerts, yeah, I would see alerts actually the ones that have been triggered. So if I tail -F on alert.log, we would see that we already have seen certain things going on in the background. We also see some stuff's being reported around permissions as well. Now, what I want to do, I think I'm going to leave this to tomorrow because there's a whole lot I could be doing from this point on, but I think it's already extended beyond the limit that I want the video to go. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to go to our dashboard. Oh, my bad. We're going to go in our dashboard. Let's refresh this. And we will log into our dashboard. Then we will try to add an agent. But before that, we will be setting up local rules for GuardDuty and for CloudTrail. If I go back into my VS Code, you would see I've got those rules here for CloudTrail, for GuardDuty, and the local rules. I already mapped the local rules. So once we do this, we won't have to do it repeatedly, but I didn't map GuardDuty and CloudTrail because I want to have the flexibility of updating them on the fly and just adding them to Wazuh on the fly. That way, it's easy for me to actually have the flexibility of managing it. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to, on our dashboard, we're going to get those addressed. We can actually do that on the dashboard. I will show how to do that from the dashboard. We can also view logs, like error logs on the dashboard. So we'll see if we've got issues to deal with. I definitely know there will be some issues to deal with once this is fetched. Okay, yeah, you can see request failed. Now all these requests failed will be requests that are made to fetch the logs. Remember, we haven't done the cloud end configuration. So you might end up seeing a bunch of these request failed logs dumping itself in here. Anyways, let's see some config miscellaneous run a health check. Everything looks to be working fine on our end. So I think I'm going to end this recording here. Once again, thanks for your patience. I know it's a long one, but tomorrow we will try to wrap up the final phase of this recording where we will be bringing in agents. Then we'll also be configuring the cloud end for the Kinesis and the GuardDuty export to an S3 bucket for that integration. Then we will just run some tests like trigger an ICA file on our EC2 instance and see how Wazuh responds to that. If you would want me to do stuff like using VirusTotal to do active response, where it's going to flag the file, then remove the file, I'll do that if I get more comments. Probably would work in that part of the integration. Okay, thank you for your time, and I do appreciate your patience. I hope you love the content, and I'll be seeing you in the next recording. Have a good day. Bye.